Okay, we're recording. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. It is April 23, 2026. This is a regular meeting of the Community Resources Committee of the Town Council. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, which extends through June 30, 2027, the ability of public bodies to meet in a remote or hybrid manner without a quorum of members in person, this meeting will be conducted via remote means. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may do so via Zoom or by telephone. No in-person attendance of members of the public is possible, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is 1:02. We'll go around and see who can be heard. Andy.
Yes.
Mandy.
Present.
And Pam can hear herself. It's always a good thing. There are no public hearings today. And I am looking at the attendees. There are no attendees, so we will offer the opportunity should anyone choose to speak at this time. I'm not going to read the preamble. So we'll start in with item 4, action items, and I want to share ahead of time that I'd like to have a hard stop at 2:30 on any clean energy bylaw discussion so that we can move to the wrap up of a couple other items. And if you would all help me, I set my alarm, but anyway, that should be loud enough. Okay, so clean energy bylaw version 9. And I actually did find it helpful to look at the document with the only comments that we have received, non-CRC comments that we have received. It was helpful to me, at least, to see them in context of the text of our bylaw. And so I think it would be easiest to use that document as we go through the discussion. Hi, Nate. Can you hear us?
I can.
I can hear you too. Stephanie, can you hear us?
I can.
Wonderful. Okay. And I look forward to both of you weighing in. So this is going to be walk through our draft bylaw. Anyway, that's it for now until 2:30. Then we'll switch gears. Okay. And if someone notices when Alicia Walker joins us, that would be helpful to just alert us all. Oh, again, I'll look for anyone who has comments. I would say keep your microphones open because it takes a lot of time to look for hands as we go through this text, and it's, I think, pretty straightforward. I'll try to, if you go like this, I'll be able to see your hand moving. So let's start from the beginning. There are obviously some suggestions and comments made that are wording, and then there are some that elicit a discussion, and we'll try to move through the easy stuff and decide on those more difficult or more complex topics if we want to table them for now or save them for public hearing processing. And if anybody has another thought, Mandy.
Yeah, I just want to say I've got the one with the comments up, but I was hoping to be able to just put any changes into the clean version that doesn't have these comments because I think I saw a lot of wonky sort of formatting in the one that you did. And so I think if I put any particular changes, track them into a clean version, since we have to get this out to Athena as soon as possible, that will save me time after the meeting. So you guys wouldn't see that as we're going through, but is that okay if I do it that way? And then
yes,
we can then scroll through afterwards and I can show you those changes because they'll be tracked if people want to just see them quickly, depending on what we do. Is that okay
okay.
with people?
It occurred to me that these comments that were added changed the formatting, but that if perhaps they are accepted and they disappear, that the formatting will revert to normal, is my thinking. Because the formatting came with the comment. Does that make sense?
I mean, I can try, but if it's not, it's going to be easier to just put them in separately on a new
Okay,
document.
okay. You want to just try with the very first one, the purpose?
I can, when we go through, I'll do first couple as we go through.
Okay. Okay. Does anyone have an issue with the recommendation SPI and BESS installations shall be permitted by means of site plan review, special permit, or administrative procedures as described in Table 3 and Article 5.11 of this bylaw. Approval by other authorities such as Conservation Commission and Fire Department will be required as applicable. Is that acceptable? Mandy?
Two questions. It doesn't seem like that's part of a purpose statement at all. So I don't know why it was put in this one. I mean, I know why you put it in, so I'm not questioning why it's what Doug suggested, but it's not a purpose statement at all. And I actually don't understand, and maybe Nate can help explain what this statement's doing and how it affects the rest of Article 18 at all, because it doesn't reference Article 18 at all. It just sort of seems to be restating what Table 3 and 5.11 specifically say.
Nate?
My sense is that Doug was trying to add context up front to let people know, to make it easier for people to understand what they're going to be asked to do. And so I think this is that kind of thing, just sort of giving a heads up that this is it's an introductory thing. So whether it's purpose or introduction, I mean, I think that was his purpose. That's at least how I understood it.
Yeah, I mean,
Nate?
agreed, Andy, but I also think it could go under applicability. I think he was
Yes.
trying to just put, I don't want to say like kind of simple language, but just have something clear so that an applicant knows, okay, how does this bylaw get implemented in terms of zoning? But I don't think it's in purpose. I don't think it should go under purpose either. I don't know if it's just it referenced the wrong section, but I think to me it's applicability.
Yes.
Great.
I would agree with that.
I agree as well.
It's almost like 180202.
Yeah.
That's like the intro sentence, and then you get into the specific sections of.
Yep. Right. So Mandy, how do we want to do this? We'll watch you move it.
Deal with that later. So that's moved there.
Mhm.
That feels better to me. Yeah. So that was a suggestion to add to our existing wording. Then there was a recommendation of rewording what's actually highlighted in pink, and that is Tier 1 ground-mounted SPI is defined in Article 6, Table 3, and Tier 1 accessory SPI best uses as defined in Article 5.11 shall be permitted administratively and comply with sections 1801, et cetera, et cetera. As a rewording for the text that we had in there originally. Any comments?
A couple from my end. I don't understand the difference. It seems like it's just preference and wording, but we had Nate, more of a question for Nate. The comment we still had here was we need to look at those sections completely. So, you know, this one is which way should it be stated, right? X don't apply or X do apply. It's missing canopy SPI and it doesn't deal with the building mounted installations that we were trying to figure out
Yep.
last time. So I think part of it is old draft. But I'd rather leave this as written and wait for staff to come in with their response to comments.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, even just that intro paragraph that was added is clarifying. And then I think, between what's highlighted in pink and the other stuff, to me, it says the same thing. I don't,
Mm.
the other one, the one, like as Mandy said, the one in pink actually covers more. So I think it's fine to leave in for now. And
Yep. All right. So Mandy, how are you feeling about this text and its
Well-
clean?
So far it's working. We'll see as it goes along.
Okay.
I'm mirroring it in both just in case. So
There was one sort of general question there about reorganizing. I don't know if that's something that we've lost or that we don't agree with, but
It was a suggestion to reorganize to have the bylaw to have the initial section of requirements that all projects comply with, and then a second section that only applies to the higher tier projects.
So I would say eventually yes, but right now that's too much, right? Once
Yep.
we get the list of what everything should, I think we might be able to reorganize so it's an easier listing. But
Yep.
until we know exactly what it is, I wouldn't, so we could just add that to this comment here.
That'd be fine. We'd like to keep that comment.
yeah, I think it's harder to do in reality than just write a bylaw based on, say, like the tiered permitting, because you want to have definitions and certain things. And so, do you want to break up the submittal requirements if, submittals, the submittal requirements apply to some and then the other, or some to the other. I think there's probably, you could do it that way. Or you can kind of do it the way the paragraph suggested, and then you have, like inclusive of these sections, but not these. And then, I mean, it gets the same, it says the same thing. It might just, you just want to make sure it's not confusing. I think, Doug had emailed me and we talked, and he said he was just trying to make it so that an applicant or even staff, someone who just picks this up can read it and not be
Mhm.
confused.
Yep.
So I appreciate that, what he's trying to do there, but.
Great. So moving on, the next comment that we received is 18.0312. The difference between discharge or hazardous waste discharge and disposal. 6 one, half does the other. I'm happy to keep them both in right now. Any comments? Mandy?
I'm curious if Concom regulations define the two, and so do we need them here, or can we just refer to that? And I will say the difference is disposal is sort of in when Pat and I were talking about this and added these sections in months ago, right, last term.
Yep.
What we saw as the difference is disposal is for active use, active storage of actual hazardous waste on the site. And how are you when you're doing that and you're done with using it? What's your plan to dispose of it? Versus the discharge, which is, say, accidental or intentional. Unintended is if, say, there's a fire and there's a lot of hazardous waste going out to put it out. That's the discharge of, like to me, that was sort of the difference of if you plan on storing hazardous materials on site for use for whatever, herbicides or whatever, what's your plan to dispose of them? Versus that discharge when there's not a plan in place, right?
Can I point out problematically for me is that the disposal definition starts with the discharge.
Yeah.
So that's confusing because you've got discharge identified in the previous definition. And then you're using discharge to define disposal. So I think either reword the disposal definition, somehow find a different word than discharge, if you're going to keep them both in.
Yeah.
Maybe the release, or I don't know, another word than discharge.
I like the word release to replace the word discharge. That works. I understand the concern that they're awfully similar. But I'm okay keeping them both.
Could we just get rid of spilling and leaking?
Because they're covered under discharge.
Yeah.
Yep. Great.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
so yeah. So I was going to say, like, I mean, the disposal doesn't mean it's going to discharge, right? It says it may, and so the idea is that when you dispose of something, it may end up having might have, the discharge of hazardous waste, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. So, yeah, so I'm kind of getting the when we're saying the release, deposit, injection, dumping,
Mm.
incineration, or placing, to me, disposal would be the like placing of the hazardous waste onto land or water that may be released. And then if it is, then it becomes the discharge of hazardous waste discharge, right? So it's like the disposal isn't hazardous in and of itself. It's just you're
Yeah.
disposing of something. And so then it could become the discharge or hazardous waste discharge. So I think that's what it would mean, but reading these, I do feel like they're very similar.
They're so similar, but disposal also to me is very much more intentional. And I know that the definition in discharge says accidental or intentional.
Right.
Which disposal to me is always intentional.
yeah.
If you're getting rid of something, you're intentionally getting rid of it.
Are we more worried about spilling, or are we more worried about disposing?
So I think the difference in use in this bylaw is when we get down to hazardous waste, there needs to be a plan for disposal if you're storing on site. But the emergency response plan has to deal with the discharge, that emergency issue. So I think there's a difference as to whether you're using in construction hazardous materials such that you need a plan for after construction or whatever. What plan applies, I think, is what it is. We can look further on and come back to this.
Yeah.
So disposal is getting rid of it, is trying to get rid of it. And discharge is what happens if you don't do it right.
I like that. Yes. I think that's the goal.
So you're trying to not have them discharge and have them dispose responsibly, but I don't know about this. So it's confusing because it does have a lot of discharge type language in the disposal.
But I think it makes it more clear later on when we use the actual terms.
So we'll keep both discharge and disposal for now. We'll say thank you very much for the comment. Okay, down to 14. So emergency response plan. My thinking is that we don't actually need to describe an emergency response plan. I would rather that it show up in 04 as a submittal, and we can describe there that it is plan to address procedures taken in response to emergencies.
You mean 1808? Because
1808, 1808, yeah.
04,
1808,
yeah, 04 is like
yeah,
compliant.
1808, 1808. So we have it in here and it said where appropriate, I think it was maybe M or J. Right here, J, yeah.
And the definition's just to describe what the emergency response plan is.
But
So-
couldn't we just do it here, an emergency response plan that addresses procedures and responses to accidental discharge?
Like that?
Yeah, and then I think the 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 definition also said in consultation with um fire, police, and emergency management departments. That makes sense?
Like that?
Yeah, except we would say instead of local government, it would be with the town of Amherst.
We don't have an emergency management department.
Fire and police.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then we can accept or get rid of the blue.
Which blue? The blue here?
Yeah,
What are we doing here in definitions?
I don't think we need it anymore.
Yeah, I don't see it elsewhere in the zoning bylaw. And to me, it's kind of like a common language definition. I think if you hear it, you understand what it means. What I was going to say is 1814 of the bylaw, we say for all ground-mounted SPI, agrivoltaic, standalone BESS, and co-located BESS, the applicant shall submit an emergency response plan. So, there's only a few instances when they don't need to. But it comes after the submittal requirements. It's just an odd, um, sequence of when you first know about it. So, if you're reading down through the submittals, you don't know if it's applicable. You have to actually read to, which might be okay. But
Oh, sorry, Mandy, all the
Or can we deal with that when we get down there?
yeah,
all right, yeah.
yeah, remind us. Okay, anything in the 1804? No recommendations or changes there. 1805, nothing. 1806. the question asked under 1806 cites what kind of mitigation measures are contemplated and who will decide which are required? This was something from the state guidelines. And they also did not actually describe mitigation measures.
It seems to me that the mitigation is going to be something that the permit granting authority would consider in their deliberation. So, and again, this might be one of those things that's going to happen in the pre-application process.
Yeah.
That's going to be reviewed and discussed. So I don't think you need, I understand the questions there, but I don't think you need to address it.
I agree with Stephanie.
Me too. Delete. Okay, 1807, there was a request that all fees should be listed. I felt not strongly about that because we might forget one, or, this would be written into a bylaw. Mandy.
I would say absolutely not to the amounts, because then to change them, you have to go through a bylaw amendment process, which is, they'll never get changed, right? And I agree with you on fees, unless we know the comprehensive nature of what they're called, you miss one, then you can't charge for it then. So I think all applicable fees is fine.
It's
Yep.
appropriate, and also because fees may change depending on the body that is going to review the application, and not, like, the Conservation Commission may not always be a reviewing body, might not be jurisdictional for the project. So I would strike that comment.
Yeah, I
think it's
mean,
fine as is.
yeah, we would never put the fees in. My only thought would, we could say that all applicable fees apply and must be submitted in order for an application to be complete. It's kind of like we've been using that language, so it's like, because sometimes people will submit an application and we're really trying to say the fee is part of that application, right? So it's not.
Mandy Jo, just to add the word deemed before complete.
Yeah, that's kind of a funny thing. Usually, I mean, sometimes, in the bylaw, we don't really reference fees. I'd have to go look, but
Yeah,
it's usually part of rules and regs with the understanding that there are application fees. So I think just a generic statement is fine.
and again, I think this was from the state guidelines.
Right.
And they're likely to change.
You need a space between deemed and complete.
Thank you. Deemed complete.
It happens really fast, so that's why there's no space.
Very nice.
We're cooking here. Okay, 1808. This is the extensive list of permit submittal requirements. The comment is, the bylaw is not clear when a consolidated permit is required or permitted to be used. 225 CMR 2904 clearly allows applicants to seek approval outside of the consolidated permitting process. Suggest editing to read: if the applicant wishes to seek approval under the consolidated permit process, the application shall be submitted to the town manager or their designee. Anybody feel strongly about Mandy?
I'm just trying to think about all sorts of things here. So is 18 meant to apply to a project whether or not it's submitted under the consolidated permit application process or not, or non? And if so, then section 1808 probably needs retitled just application submittal requirements, not consolidated permit. So as I think about Doug's comment here, if this is intended for all SPI and BEST, whether or not they're pursuing, we should retitle the section. And then I agree with the comment that that 1801 should be rewritten to be something like, if seeking approval through the consolidated permit process, the consolidated permit application shall be submitted to the town manager or their designee, something like that. But I defer to Stephanie and Nate on if they don't do the consolidated permit application, what's going to apply?
So it would be sort of business as usual, I would think, except in terms of submitting an application to the various boards and committees. But, and Nate, I saw you not shaking your head, but I was going to say that there would still have to be these new tiered classifications. So how you would address that, Nate, I would ask how you would differentiate between the two. Because I would think you would still do the normal routine of going before each board and committee if you're not doing the consolidated permit.
Oh yeah, I maybe I misunderstood what you were saying, Stephanie. Yeah, so to me, this bylaw and then what we're proposing to change in the use chart and accessory, section 3 and 6 and 5 applies to all solar BESS installation. So if someone could come in now, like right now, if someone came in and they want to do a rooftop solar, we'd say, okay, here's how it's permitted. Someone wants to do 10 acres of solar, here's how we say it's permitted. After this bylaw is, if it's effective, someone comes in and they say they want to do 10 acres of solar, we say, okay, here's the permitting route. You could do site plan review through the planning board and follow all these things in the Article 18, or you could apply for a consolidated permit. And it's their choice. And so the way I've been understanding this, I was just trying to skim, I have it up on my other monitor. The way I understand it is we want the submittal requirements and all these requirements to apply to any solar or BESS, whether or not they're going through a consolidated permit. So that, that's why we're writing it in a way, and that's kind of why we came up with the changes to the use chart and everything else, is that this applies to any and all solar or BESS, whether or not. So it is an opt-in. It's optional to go to the consolidated permit route. To me, the rest of this bylaw is not optional unless under applicability we say it's waived, right? Where we're saying like inclusive of these sections, then those other sections don't apply. So I was just trying to figure out like how when you were talking, Mandy, about the 1808, we call it the consolidated permit application submittal requirements. And Pam, I heard you, and I was thinking, just trying to look through those. I thought we would want those requirements for any
Yeah. So I just
application.
deleted it so it would read
Right.
submittal requirements in general.
Right.
I think that's appropriate because
Yep.
it is going to apply to all projects.
Yeah.
So just, I think that's a simple solution.
Yeah.
Yep. It makes it, yeah.
Good.
Yep. Then 180801, yeah, if I think that change looks good. Yep.
Yep. Great. Thank you, Doug, for bringing the subject up. Super. Okay, moving down, 180804.
As we did that, 180803, this all applicants shall comply with the requirements of 225 CMR 29 should probably say if applicable.
Or could we just say all applicants for consolidated permit?
No, we want all applicants to comply with PGA and zoning bylaw and all.
Oh, yeah. If applicable.
Why do we have both 29 and 28?
One's the pre-submittal and site suitability assessment, and the other one is the
No, I think clean energy is just 29, not 28. So what's 225-28? Did we just like
sorry,
write it?
that's the SMART program.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So
Yeah.
28 is so this one needs to be 29. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if they're not doing consolidated permit, they don't have to comply with 29. Right?
I mean, yeah, to me, it's kind of interesting. It's almost like, again, at the beginning of that 180803, it's almost like 229, 225, CMR 29 and 28, if applicable, right? Because
So put if applicable to after 28.
Well,
Wait a minute.
29 is specifically small clean energy infrastructure facility siting and permitting. So,
So that's,
and I think that establishes the consolidated permitting process.
28 or 20, I need to look it up.
29 is the specifically the small clean energy
Yeah.
infrastructure facility siting and permitting.
So 29, they only have to comply with if it's consolidated permit application.
Establishes standard conditions, criteria, requirements, and procedures for the efficient, appropriate siting and permitting of small clean energy infrastructure facilities by local governments.
mhm.
But if they
We've
were going to
not-
skip
if-
consolidated permit, they wouldn't need to comply with 29.
Well, this whole bylaw is in response to 29.
Right.
We
But
can
we
get rid of
haven't-
the if applicable at this point and leave it as it was.
Right. Right. Ready to move on?
Yeah, I was just reading through 225 CMR 29. It says applies to local government, local siting and permitting of an applicant to submit a consolidated permit application.
Yep.
So the way I'm reading it is it would only apply if they elect to use the local
The
consolidated permit.
Put it back in.
So using the words if applicable here helps differentiate between someone who is going to go through the normal process or Route 29.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny, we were at the planning board, I think someone talked about that and they said, well, when would they ever do the local? And I said, well, what if it's small? And they thought it could be faster, but then they brought up, well, what about, it's all the way to building permit and other permits. And so as a safeguard, you'd almost, even if seems like an easy project, they might still do a consolidated permit just because they have that safeguard. They have that, that 12-month requirement. Otherwise, it could be like, oh, the planning board kind of takes their time and then so-and-so takes their time. So yeah, I'm curious to see how it actually works when,
It will be curious.
Well, it may be for things like, smaller projects that don't require extensive review.
But they still have some submittal requirements that are required.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah, it's something
necessary.
that might not be in the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission, perhaps.
Right.
They would want to go the consolidated permit route.
Okay, 180804 applicants shall provide the following, and this is our litany of requirements for submittals. B, there was a suggestion that the use of the word parcel versus site, we should be consistent. In my mind, they are different, and I didn't have any problem with the wording that was already in here. I don't know if anybody else did, but I thought our use of the word parcel and properties works just fine for me. A site could be comprised of 4 or 5 or 6 parcels. It is the work area.
Yeah.
So C1 is the project site that could be, the whole
Multiple
kit and caboodle.
parcels. Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah,
Yeah.
So we'll reject this.
yep. Item 6. The question, or the comment was, how is an applicant to find and locate features located on other personal property? And the question, and if you're contacting your abutters, I think they would probably let you know. if there was a well needing protection. Does anybody have any feedback on this particular comment?
I think I've asked that question before, like, and wasn't one response, shouldn't they be on GIS?
Yeah, I was gonna say if they're not on the GIS, they would be in inspections records.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a way to get that, or, at least some approximate locations.
And I don't think this is anything new. I think
Yeah.
currently, especially with wetlands permitting, there may be wetlands on an adjacent property that a project is occurring on adjacent to another property boundary, and you have to sort of determine how far you are from that without necessarily going on that property. So I don't think that's a new distinction.
Great. So we'll reject that comment. Moving on to J.
Why was
we already-
18, why was that yellow? What was the yellow section
The
there?
yellow is just to check the section numbers.
Okay.
They're just easy finding the cross references.
Yeah, just to make sure we're directing to the right spot. Once it's all finished. So J, how is an applicant to know whether an emergency response plan is required? If text of 1814 defines, if applicable, why not edit to read as required by section 1814, an emergency response plan? We already actually addressed this.
I mean, in some sense, I agree with Nate that it's weird, but we do actually reference the section. So, unless we're rewriting the whole bylaw in a weird way or making this part even more cumbersome to read, I think this is the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's fine the way it's written. I mean, again, it's like semantics with the comment, just a different way to rephrase it. But I think this makes sense.
So we've added the red lettering. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, in letter M, adding the word property owner has sufficient liability, which I inserted in there, which we could probably accept. And then and I inserted the word owner.
Yeah, it's there and it'll stay there.
Yeah, right. Okay. Confirm the applicant could actually obtain a certificate of insurance so far in advance of actually constructing the project. I don't have a feeling about that. I don't know when certificate of insurances are issued. Could we say provide the building commissioner with evidence of insurance?
So doesn't that come before the construction of the project? I'm just trying to think of. I'm thinking of like a really simple example, like even like a tent structure that's going to be used for a town event. They provide a certificate of insurance and it's prior to the event happening. So in my mind, is that something that you want to have before, not after the project is completed?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to look later on. We have prior to construction and a surety will be provided. This is a submittal requirement, so I get that it's a little early to provide that. Should it go somewhere else, or is it just part of the permit standards and conditions that prior to the issuance of a building permit, you must submit a certificate of insurance,
Or
right?
could it just be prior to construction?
Yeah, I mean, I was just online looking. I mean, we say before starting work, or in other places we have to have that before a permit is issued. So it really is before you even get on the site. I think it's fine the way it's written. I mean, we just say has sufficient liability coverage. I mean, to me, that's, that's something that if the building commissioner needs to discuss, they can figure out how, that they feel like it's sufficient. I mean, maybe it is then just the letter from the insurer, but we don't have to.
We
Sometimes
don't
it's
have to specify. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Okay, good. We are up to number, let's see,
T.
T. T6. These are all impacts. Let's see. So other impacts as specified by the PGA as opposed to other losses. And because the comment was, we haven't talked about losses. We haven't documented losses.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
I mean, my only thought though is this is a submittal requirement, so I don't know how they would know about how it's specified by the PGA. Um,
Ah,
Mm.
we're already saying it needs to, comply with the rules and regs and other submittal requirements. So I don't know if it's referring to that. To me, it almost seems like it would be, um,
maybe it's unnecessary.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if it's like potential impacts I specified by the PGA, which again doesn't necessarily mean it makes sense.
Right.
yeah, I don't think this would be, I mean, I think we'd have to put this in another section if we wanted to keep something like this.
Well, the fact that we have the whole preliminary process is supposed to identify those impacts, losses,
Mm.
mitigation requirements. So it wouldn't have to be in our bylaw itself. Great. Okay. 180806. Is the PGA the entity that is solely responsible for whether a reason is compelling? Recommend replacing the word compelling with something less stringent, perhaps reasonable.
So
I
I
kinda
think,
like-
yes, the PGA would be the one responsible for that's their job.
Yep, yep.
Um, I so reasonable to me is a less stringent standard. So I think the question is, I'm fine with it, but is that reasonable reason? Compelling reason is like a little more harder to beat to get that waiver or modified than reasonable in my mind.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm comfortable with compelling. Anybody else? Okay.
Yeah, just to say that, the planning board talked about this a little bit. There's some general comments about like, wow, these are a lot of submittal requirements. And so, what I said is that, staff would often works with applicants. And so we would try to guide them, given the project. And so we could say, sure, you can try to ask for a waiver for all these requirements, but given your kind of scope of work or size of project, we're not sure it'll be well received by the permit granting authority. And so what this section really is just a waiver from the submittal requirements. It's not a waiver from any of the other things.
Yeah,
Um,
yes.
And so I
Good.
think for compelling reason is fine. It's similar language we have in the rest of the zoning bylaw. And it really is the permit granting authority that has that. So often staff, um, we even now, the way the bylaw is written, for site plan review or others, we often have it go to the board. It's their decision as the permit granting authority to determine if they want to waive an application requirement.
Yep, yep, right. And I like the fact that it reminds us it's a waiver of submittals.
Right.
Okay, great. 1809-0101. There's a comment. It says, move this section elsewhere as it is not a dimensional standard. So let's just deal with that first. It is actually, if I look forward, it's identical to 1809-0202. It looks to me to be just about the same paragraph.
It's not exactly the same.
but it is not necessarily a dimensional. It was supposed to cover, so 180202 is for BES only. This is for both.
No,
Is that right?
101, the one we're looking at now is only SPI and the other one is
Yeah.
only BES. And
Yes,
the
yeah.
difference between them are BES are also prohibited in zone 2.
So looking at staff, is there a different location? I don't mind saying this up front. Hey, just beware, this is prohibited or not prohibited. Is there a better location for that statement than in dimensional requirements? Hearing nothing, we'll move on.
Yeah.
No, I was looking, I'm wondering if maybe applicability, like in terms of where, I'm just trying to think of where it would, I don't disagree that it maybe would be better placed in another section. I know you're anxious to move on, Pam, but I'm just thinking, I mean, maybe we could make a comment that this should get moved. We don't have to do it now, but
Right.
it should go elsewhere in the bylaw. I would agree to that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Because the
But
language is not a dimensional standard, though.
no, I agree. It's just what we're actually saying though is there's this whole area where they're prohibited.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so whether it's applicability or, um, yeah, I was same thing. I was trying to think about where to put it. I was just looking. I don't have a great answer for that.
Yeah,
But
I don't
guess
either.
I mean, it could go right up into applicability. That's probably what I was thinking is right. Like
Yeah. Well, Nate and I both agree on that.
Great.
That's where it should go.
Possibly to applicability.
I think I put that in the comment.
Yep, that's great. Thank you.
To applicability or other more relevant section.
There you go. There you go. Good. 1809-0102, the comment was reduce setback distances in residential districts to match the standard distances. The setbacks increase the cost.
Yeah, I think,
I don't-
so Doug had asked this question, sorry, at the planning board. I guess some of it was also understanding what applies to what. And so he had said, well, what if I wanted to do a little ground mount in my backyard to power my car? Can I not do it with these setbacks? And so it's just going, it's again looking at the applicability and it's like, does this apply? And to me, it's like we're saying primary use solar, not accessory.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like the way he described it, I said, no, that's an accessory use. You're fine. But I just, to his point, I haven't, you'd have to go through and see, okay, are we clear on that?
But wouldn't that be a conversation with staff in like a pre-filing meeting?
I mean, we
Or
say
just
right here, we say primary use solar installations with the exception of building mounted and tier 1 accessory uses. So to me, it's a tier 1 accessory use. So these don't apply. That's the way I'm understanding it. So you don't have your 20 feet or 20 or 25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we could strike his comment.
Yeah. Good. 1809-01-024, PGA may permit the recommendation, permit the PGA to also decrease setback requirements. We have them allowing them to increase the setback. Does anyone feel strongly about decreasing the permit?
Isn't that a waiver of I mean, isn't that just a PGA decision? Why would we have to specify that?
Yeah, I think, do we even need that whole thing with the waivers section we've got now?
I was trying to find that waiver section. We would actually, unless we say it somewhere else.
Waivers 18.18, upon written request of the applicant, PGA may waive or modify any requirement of this section upon written finding of special circumstances, and that it will not result in SPI or VEST that is less protective of public health, safety, or welfare than the waiver if the waiver weren't granted. But not for 3 and 5, which is the dimensional table, well, which is the tables, not the dimensional table.
Right, yeah, so they can't
Use
waive like
tables.
the use category.
Yeah. So I'm not even sure we need this section at all.
Yeah, yeah,
We don't.
we don't.
I guess
Why?
the question was, do we like the idea that they could reduce the minimums?
Not particularly, but it is their jurisdiction.
And I can see a time where, depending on, if you're more of a flag lot type lot, you might need to reduce setback for a driveway or something. I don't know. It's not a good example, but
Well,
Yeah, or if or if right, there's no abutters, there's nothing else on the property next to you. Could
And
you
I think
have?
it's just the point that, projects are specific and it's not a
Yeah.
one size fits all. So you have to have the ability to be able to make those decisions.
Mhm.
right, which we do allow.
Yeah.
Okay. 1809-01-03, what is the basis for the 200-foot? So this goes through several iterations, and we base that on drinking water protection recommendations from that committee.
Right.
And I don't have any reason to change those. We have no other basis for which to put an arbitrary number in there.
Right.
I would like to delete that comment.
And I'm curious about his question though. What if the SPI is already there? Does an abutting landowner now is a abutting landowner now prohibited from putting a private well in?
I wouldn't think so, but it's their choice and their knowledge. Uh, 1901-04, minimum distance of 400 feet. What constitutes a public surface water supply? That somehow we did not include it in the definitions, but I think that's covered in other documents within the Amherst bylaws, right?
I think so.
I'm looking at Stephanie
Yeah,
and Nate.
it absolutely should be, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 1809-01-05, what is the basis for 200-foot minimum? Again, we will delete that. And now we are on standalone BESS and co-located BESS. Question 0201, would the requirement to comply with I think it's NFPA 855 otherwise apply during the course of permitting this project, perhaps as part of obtaining the electrical permit or a utility connection? If so, why include this statement? Suggest removal. Also, this is covered by 1804. Any comments? 1804, compliance with laws, ordinances, and regulations.
Which doesn't mention NFPA, but it's only setback as recommended in NFPA, not as, right? Like this isn't a full requirement if practicable, so I don't think it's covered by 1804.
Yeah. And I think it's appropriate. Well, so they're gonna go through the permitting process with feedback from AFD and someone's going to say, hey, you've got either brushing material or whatever, you're too close to the tree line, that's within the, I don't know, the review process by the fire department.
Yeah, I don't, I was just looking at it. I think the statement's fine. It doesn't,
You do too.
to me, it's like, again, it's like a guidance thing. So applicants and everyone can say, oh yeah, here's how, what you have to comply with, and then really it's right. AFD or others are going to say exactly what you might need to do
Yeah.
or what they
Right.
recommend. But I think it's nice to have
Yeah.
it in there.
It just sort of
Right.
flags that you need to make sure that you're dealing with them as well.
Yes, yes. I agree. Let's get rid of the comment. 090202, the first sentence is convoluted. We've already talked about this. Suggest replacing with a new text, which is standalone and co-located in zone 1 to zone A areas as defined in drinking water shall comply with that regulation.
So the regulation, I don't think prohibits them in zone 1 or 2, and this statement does. But I do have a question about, this sentence says in zone 2 areas without the unless permissible, should we just add zone 1 and zone 2 areas unless permissible under these preferences? Because then it's zone A, it's allowed, but it must follow those requirements. Stephanie?
Say that again, Mandy.
So this one is different than solar in that zone 2 here for BESS doesn't allow, we're saying if it's in zone 2, you can't put BESS, which is different than solar. But we added this sentence here. I feel like it's zone 1 is the most protective, and then zone 2, and then zone A, I think is where it goes, right? Closest to farthest. And so why are we prohibiting it completely in zone 2, but in zone 1 saying they're prohibited except if they're permissible under CMR 22? Should zone 2, should we just move it to read?
Yeah.
And then delete this? It's a question for
like that.
Stephanie.
Yeah, I mean, that looks good. And I do think that other bodies will be reviewing this during the hearing process, is my guess. So I would say if that gets flagged by relevant PGAs, we'll hear about it. So I think
Yep.
that change makes sense, though. So at least in my opinion, I think that works.
But are we moving this again up to applicability?
I'll
it's just,
add that comment. Give me a second. So the comment's been added.
Perfect. Let's move to 18090206. It says, why is this distance larger than for SPI? It is because BESS contains more toxic components than solar panels.
Yep.
Delete. Design requirements, 181001. The comment was add Massachusetts Comprehensive Fire Safety Code and Massachusetts Electrical Code after 527 CMR. Why is this reference even needed? Will these sections requirements not be applied during review by fire department and building commissioner? If so, remove the reference. It's also covered by 1804. Let's start with that comment. This is access roads to me.
I feel like we could just remove this, including CMR.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're really talking about roadways here. We're not talking about fire.
And the fire department in reviewing is going to make sure it complies with their
Yes.
turn ratios.
Yes.
Um, um, again, it's kind of like the previous statement where we referenced NFPA. I think this is one where, um, an access road to meet fire requirements is different than other things. So they might need, like stabilized shoulders and certain things. And so, so just including 527 CMR, and what Doug is saying, and then the name of it is the Massachusetts Comprehensive Fire Safety Code, blah, blah, blah. I mean, to me, that's, we don't do it elsewhere, but I think just having that call out, including 527 CMR, is helpful just so then again, it's people know like it's not just, our local, you know, um, they might think like, oh, a farm road is okay, but really it's not. It's like might be an improved surface with certain
Mhm.
heights and clearances and
And I have a slight recollection that it might have been an addition by fire personnel when we were doing the staff review. I think they might have asked to have that inserted.
The other somewhere in here I thought we had, well, maybe this is it, that roads and access have to be approved by the fire department. And if that's the case, then we might not have to have this reference, but I think it's good until we see otherwise. Okay, the second half is why are compaction, removal of stone walls, listed? If a road were constructed for other purposes, would it be subject to these requirements? I thought there was a requirement in Massachusetts to protect stone walls, but I could be wrong.
yeah, I mean, to me though, this is I like what's here only because then it offers guidance. So an applicant's not going to go over steep slopes and have a lot of grading. We're giving them some framework or parameters like minimize the grading, compaction, runoff.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. I like it.
I honestly think that if someone were to come in and say, oh, I want to build like a subdivision road, we'd say the same things. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. Clearances, replace shall with may at the end of the second line, and that would read heights greater than 10 feet. This is vertical clearance. Heights greater than 10 feet may be approved by the PGA and shall use best management practices to prevent erosion.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Because if it's shall, why is it even in there in
Yeah.
a sense?
yeah. Second paragraph says, second paragraph, second line, what is the meaning of module? So that says allows passage of runoff between each module, thereby minimizing the creation of concentrated runoff.
So I think I can explain what it means to me,
Yeah.
but I think anyone in a project doing these will understand what it means. So you get a lot of rows of solar arrays, and it's the passage between those, like you
Right.
want to figure it out. Like I think anyone in doing this project would understand that.
Yeah, I would just strike that. I don't
Yeah,
think
I agree.
there's a reason.
Under glare, it says remove solar glare modeling from the third line. It's a design tool. I actually have a suggestion that instead it says shall not be limited to deliberate placement arrangement on the site and reflective materials and screening based on solar glare modeling. Or based in part on solar.
In response to solar, or
Yeah, in response to. Great. Okay. SPI, this is 1810-04, land clearing and soil erosion. SPIs and best shall not be installed on existing slopes greater than 15% as averaged over 100-foot distance unless otherwise authorized by the PGA. Remove otherwise. Okay. Great. Next one is second paragraph. The phasing requirement is unclear. Is there any pause between phases envisioned? And I think we got the 5 acre requirement from Aaron Jacques, who says that's standard practice for
Yeah.
construction.
That is
I had
correct.
thought it was, I had thought it was 10, but I like 5.
She said it was 5.
Yep, great. Second paragraph, the 5 acre phasing requirement will be a hardship for projects. Well, that is what it is. I recommend removal of this comment.
I mean, he does have a point where someone can just clear cut the whole land first.
Yes, yes. Yep. Can't control everything.
But I think if it's typical of Concom stuff, I'm fine leaving it in for now. It can be waived under the waiver rules if need be for hardship.
Yeah, Aaron had said that it's actually a requirement under stormwater and others, so I don't think that
Mm.
I'm not sure they can waive that.
Mhm.
And I don't I think uh, yeah, it is an interesting way to phase it. To me, it means that you still can clear some things, but you have to like stabilize and
Right.
move on. So I mean, there's probably ways people can figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the whole
Yep.
point of
Right.
it.
Okay, next one is applicants shall avoid siting in a manner that would require construction or tree clearing within 100 feet of groundwater monitoring wells. Those are groundwater monitoring wells are aren't those installed by the developer?
I think they are known to the town.
So if they're known to the town, then
He's again concerned with not being able to, an applicant not being able to figure out where they are. But I think all of this is based on what's known to the
Yeah.
town.
yeah.
Also, again, I think this is one of those things that comes up in the pre-filing discussions.
Okay, now topsoil, fourth paragraph. Do any other bylaws impose these same topsoil requirements in landowners? If not, then why are they needed for SBIs and BES?
Nate?
And Nate, yeah, Nate.
Yeah, I have something similar. I thought we had something similar in the bylaw or in the rules and regs about importing of soil. I was just trying to look at it. So I think we do have something similar.
There, I know the Conservation Commission definitely has
Yeah.
language about topsoil and importing topsoil for sure. And I think this is actually, and I think, again, this I think was something that was intentionally worded by Amy Ruzecki from DPW.
Yeah.
So I would not change this at all.
Yeah, I guess I was looking at the bylaw. I lost this. What section is this? It's under the
181004, page 9-ish
yeah,
on this.
right.
Let's keep going.
Yeah.
The next
And
one is
so I guess the topsoil though, the topsoil piece, this is for any SPI or best. It's not just within the 100 feet of the groundwater
Correct.
monitoring wells, right?
Yeah. right.
But Amy was very clear about that.
No, she was, yeah. And I feel like I've seen this language before. I was just trying to find it. So I think it's fine. I mean, if that's what we want, that's what we want, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And on the next paragraph, Doug suggested deleting what I've highlighted. This offsite because it's covered by topsoil here.
Yep. Right, it does say PGA, approved by Public Works, and approved by the PGA, right? So
So
that
I
one
think
line is,
we can delete that.
yep. Good. 1805, 1005, if lighting is needed for safety and operations, won't that use conflict with it only being used in an emergency? Please clarify. Lighting shall be limited to that required for safety and operational purposes and kept extinguished from dusk to dawn, except in cases of emergency. That sounds pretty clear to me.
Yeah, I don't know. If I read it, I think it right means that, under general normal, operating, you might have your lights on at this time, but if there's an emergency, you can keep them on all night, right? If you're doing something.
Yeah.
I think I thought that makes sense. And we say,
Yeah.
It's clear.
Yeah.
It seems
Yeah.
very clear.
I mean, basically it's saying we don't want lighting, but you
Right.
can have it there and use it in case of an emergency.
right,
Yes.
But it basically can't be on other times.
right.
181006, change used to installed. Photo panels used in SPIs or photo panels installed in SPIs.
That's like a semantic thing, but I can see why installed might seem more
That's
appropriate.
fine. Fine.
Okay.
181007. The first sentence can be deleted as this is covered in 1804. And if kept, add the subject of the CMR section. Noise. BESS installations must comply with all state noise regulations. And Amherst General bylaws regulating noise.
Yeah, I mean, Doug's been trying to add, or his recommendation was to add the title of the CMR after all of our
Yeah,
Which is
citations.
fine.
that's fine. No, and then the title is noise regulations.
I mean, it's
Right.
just a reminder that you have to comply with those, even though it is covered in 04 of comply with everything.
Right. Right. I like the reminders. Screening and planting, 1008. First paragraph, requirements will increase the cost of electricity. Recommend reducing the requirements. Will cost be a consideration when assessing the performance of the array? Designed to minimize visibility, including preserving natural vegetation. I think this is pretty standard use of screening. That's the intent of screening.
Yeah, I don't see why it's different than other projects.
Yeah, I mean, the second paragraph says the PGA may alter or waive this requirement.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Thank you, Doug.
I understand what he's saying, like, oh, if it has to be 100 feet off the road, but again, that's where an applicant would
Yeah.
make the case to the permit granting
So-
authority.
Down here, third paragraph, second sentence duplicates the second paragraph. Recommend removal. 1, 2, third paragraph duplicates the second paragraph. This is sort of saying what screening may
Oh,
consist
this
of.
one may be reduced or waived at the discretion of the PGA is, he's saying that duplicates this.
Oh,
Which he's right,
okay.
I think, right?
Well, it's a little, I mean, I think
It is
the
a
wording
little
is a little
different.
different, but it's probably covered by that
I
prior.
mean, this one can be waived for these specific ones without having to prove detrimental design, blah, blah,
Right.
blah. So it is slightly different.
Right.
I would move it up though, because it makes more sense if we go like this.
Maybe
Yeah.
just delete the top one?
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Yeah. I was looking for the other PGA. I wasn't finding it. Yeah. good.
I think that makes more sense of putting those two together.
Yeah. Fifth paragraph, last sentence, who and how will it be determined if applicable? The last sentence is, if applicable, fencing for all BESS installations shall comply with standards established by the electric utility to which the BESS connects.
So my guess would be that if the BESS is going to connect to the utility, there are going to be requirements regarding
Yeah.
that. So I think again, it's sort of like flagging what we said in the others. I mean, I don't think they'll be able to do any of that without the utility's permission, right? So they're going to have some kind of application process with the utility.
Yeah, my guess
And-
is that'd be sorted out during the application review.
Yeah.
Right. So do we want to get rid of the words if applicable?
I like them. I think that's just a qualifier.
Yeah.
Exactly. I agree too. I wouldn't get rid of them.
Because you
Okay.
might not connect directly to the utility.
Yep. Okay, signs. Signs gets more coverage than just about anything here. Signs for BESS. Second paragraph, replace include with describe in the second line. And that would be,
Signs shall include, or so he wants to say
Shall describe
describe
it.
here.
okay. We got 10 minutes. We got some ways to go here. And why is ANSI 535 reference needed? Do other town projects meet this requirement? Installation shall be in compliance with ANSI Z535.
I mean, that came from the proposed model bylaw.
Yeah,
So
Right. Yep.
Keep it in.
Keep it. Fourth line, replace battery energy with BESS. Great. Fifth line, do we really want the BESS sign to describe other signs? Well, it's sort of, I mean, a sign on BESS should include all of this, I guess.
well, I think that's why, sign installation shall that's why I think we use the word include instead of describe. It needs to include signs related to fire management, fire suppression, and 24-hour
Right.
contact, but
Um,
which is, like we can just do fire management and fire suppression like that, and it'll work.
Yep. Yep. Good. Good. 181010. Utility connections, how are economically feasible and reasonable efforts to be evaluated? Is that a comment that we need to deal with right now?
I don't think so.
I don't either. Section 18110101 BESS must comply with state electrical code, state fire code, national fire protection. So in this case, we give the title first and then the number, the CMR number. Again, is this section needed or would these standards be applied in the course of project approval?
It's just a reminder, I think. I don't think there's any harm in having that in.
I agree.
Yeah, so I was going to go back up to the utility connections. I think, we kind of do this with parking now. We ask the applicant to, provide information as to what the demand is for off-site parking. And so with the utility connections, it's something we'd ask the applicant, give us a cost benefit analysis of how, underground versus utility poles and why they couldn't go underground. I mean, I think that to me, I think Doug's question is, the planning board was asking a lot, about like, oh, how will this be reviewed? And I think they, again, they were trying to get comfortable with the bylaw. And I think in reality, staff would help some of these things, right? We'd help it along. So, but I think it's worth keeping. And it's really then in the applicant to tell the planning board or whoever, zoning board, why it's not feasible.
Okay, 18110103, replace the product with each component. This is a UL test report for the product shall be made available for each component. I like that. That's good.
But each component, there might not be a test report for each component individually.
Right.
I mean, each component is every small little thing that goes into the whole best thing.
Let's leave product. Too many components. BESS must safely contain fires and thermal runaway. This is 04. Replace BESS with BESS enclosing structure. Which makes sense.
Does it?
Well, it's not the BESS itself. If BESS is the
You could say containment, best containment must safely contain fires and thermal runaway.
Well, I think it's the battery energy storage system. Right? How did we define that? Right? It's
includes
it probably includes a whole lot, right? It's not just the batteries themselves.
It's,
No, I think
A system consisting of one or more battery modules for storing electrical energy and any equipment needed to support the safe and proper function and usage of the modules, and one or more physical containers providing secondary containment to the above.
oh, great.
That's the definition of BESS.
Yeah, I mean, BESS does have to contain the
Right.
fire and thermal runaway. That's what the UL 9540 does. It's a testing.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
it's a system to test. It's a thing to test the systems.
But it's
Good.
the whole structure, not it. BESS includes all of that, not
Right.
just an enclosing structure. The
Great.
definition of BESS.
So that all that, so we
Yeah.
can ignore that. That's good. That's a good clarification. It's getting very close to 2:30. We can pause it at 2:30 and then just okay. So 18110107, first paragraph duplicates 18110101. So one of the others should
Yeah.
be deleted.
We can delete it up here.
Yeah. Okay, letter C, insert covering at a minimum after staff in the first line. Okay. 18110109, the first sentence largely duplicates 110107A, so it could be deleted. There's my timer.
Though it's like the same thing.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah. Yes, it's identical, just about identical. So 0107 lists adequate water supply and fire water containment strategies for both.
I just moved the extra sentence in 09 up to 07A.
Great, and then we
And
get
then
rid of
deleted
09.
09. Yeah.
Great. Great. Okay. PFAS. How is this to be assessed by the PGA? The applicant shall certify that non-PFAS fire suppression foams.
I
It's-
think the PGA would just get some kind of, either they'd have to supply some kind of product materials or something, some kind
Yeah.
of documentation, and I don't think that needs to be identified here. I think the PGA can determine
Yeah.
that.
Yes, exactly. Emergency services. Beth shall comply with emergency response submission, or it should be maybe the emergency response plan, since we've now called that out. And approval requirements of the Amherst Fire Department. Is this section needed? Seems like this requirement would be imposed elsewhere in the permitting process.
I mean, it seems like we're not exempting Bess at all from down here. Emergency response, right?
I mean,
Plan.
this is the emergency response plan. I mean, that's what it's saying, right? I mean, to me, it says the emergency response, it's capitalized, submission, but I think it's the emergency response plan essentially, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. But don't they all have to do it down here in 14 or 15 or whatever it is?
Mhm.
14?
Yeah.
Co-located BESS and standalone BESS submit the plan and it's developed and
Right.
also,
Department.
Yeah,
I'm not sure we need this section at all then.
I would agree, it's
I think-
repetitive.
Yeah. Okay, this will be our last comment here. Best include, so 1811-01-04, best must safely contain fires and thermal runaway. Oops, I'm on the wrong one.
110201.
1102. Following reply applies to agrivoltaic canopy, SPI, and BESS installed on prime farmlands. And he's suggesting and soils and farmland of statewide importance. So prime farmland and soils can be eliminated.
No, I think that's actually the definition, soils and farmland of statewide importance,
Oh, okay.
I think is our definition.
It's part of our part of the title.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd forgotten that.
Well, soils and farmlands of statewide importance is defined. It's just, it looks weird, but
Yeah.
it's defined.
Right.
Would you put a comma after soils then? So prime farmland and soils, or I guess I'm also having trouble wherever the comma should be.
So prime farmland is the first one,
Yep.
and
then
soils and farmland of statewide
Statewide
importance
importance.
is the other.
okay, yep. Then that
So,
okay.
I mean, you technically don't put a comma there. You just
Yeah.
have to know what's defined.
Which I clearly didn't.
Yeah, I was actually not sure myself.
Okay, so we're at 11, we're at 1812. And
13 is the next time we have stuff.
yeah. So we have 13, a fair amount of material in 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, lots of comments. How do folks feel they might want to continue on this?
So we aren't accepting many of his comments that are just comments to me that are just comments that can be dealt with during hearing. I would say we make a note for ourselves, but we vote a clean copy with the comments in to send to the council for hearing. That doesn't include any of his comments from 13 forward, but includes the changes we made from 12, and we just make a note for 13 forward to deal with it in hearing.
Okay, so let me see if I caught that we take a vote for a clean copy with all changes made to date, but not to include comments received from section 13 on.
Right.
Okay, and
So
we
it-
keep,
Yeah, continue on.
and that we would, so noted, we keep the comments, obviously, and we address them during the public hearing conversation.
So, yeah, I'm suggesting we vote this one that I was doing simultaneously that doesn't have any of Doug's from past what we just dealt with,
Okay,
but it has everything we talked about today.
Andy, any comments?
Well, how will those comments get dealt with then?
We'll deal with them during hearing.
Is it easier to deal with them in hearing if it's annotated or not?
We can bring in the annotated version at hearing, but the annotation is not what would get referenced for the public hearing purposes. Whatever we send to the council is what is essentially posted for public hearing. And so those comments I'm saying should not be posted for public hearing because they're just a person's comments. But we can address them during public hearing.
As
Yeah.
we,
So I was gonna say, I think the hearing notice is all, this is all part of Article 18. And so it's not so specific that we have to address these comments in any legal notice or anything. And so, Johanna from the planning board said she's hoping to have written comments soon too, and then they'll be addressed during the hearing. And so to me, it's not like we're going to go out of scope if all of a sudden we change sections around. So I think that's fine. This is a broad, big enough section. And there's so much here. I was just going quickly through Doug's comments. I mean, to me, they're not. It's not like he's changing anything or suggesting a new section of the bylaw. For instance, if he
Right.
was, then I'd say, okay, maybe we have to do that. I was just trying to find quickly if he was. But it doesn't look like he is. So I think we're okay.
I feel like some of his comments are things like he's looking for clarification on things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like
Right.
if he said, oh, we need to do something in section, whatever, and we hadn't yet, then I'd say, okay, let's look at it quickly. But I don't see that he is.
yeah, and some of it is grammar. So,
Yep.
I'm comfortable with that approach. So I would love to hear a motion to this effect.
Move to recommend the council vote to send for hearings at planning board and CRC Article 18 clean energy infrastructure as well as associated changes to table 3, section 5.11, section 6.2, and Article 12.
Yeah, Article 12. I'll get this, yeah. 6.2, table 3, table 5.11.
Section 5.11.
Second.
Great, yeah. Let's go around the room. Andy,
Yes.
Mandy Johanicky,
Aye.
Cameron is an aye. With 2 absent. 3 yes, 2 absent. And before any more is said and done, much thanks to Stephanie for shepherding this for 5 years. For 5 years, and Nate for being so helpful. And we will miss you, Nate. We will miss you. Just saying. Andy.
Yeah, I raised my hand for Nate. I think you're done for today at CRC, which means this might be your last CRC meeting, Nate. So
I don't know
thanks
what I'll
for
do.
your I've been here working with you, what, 8 years now. Pam's the next, Pam and Jennifer are the next longest serving. We're gonna miss you, but you're only going to one town away, so hopefully we'll be able to collaborate with Hadley and their planning and your planning with that on a regional approach to stuff. But thank you for all you've done.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I've been telling everyone I plan to reach back out. So
We'll call you in emergency pinches.
Yeah. Yeah,
Thank you, Nate.
congratulations,
Yeah.
I'll be out of town next week, so I won't see you in person. But congratulations, and we'll
Yeah.
see you around.
great. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
I'm just gonna stick around, but I'll go off camera and audio.
Okay, we're talking about the memo. We're just going to quickly go through the memo. Athena, you've got your hand up.
Hi, I just wanted to point out that I included motions, the council motion in the motion sheet. So unless you disagree with the motion that's on the motion sheet, you can just copy that into your report. So
Okay.
I've done that. for you.
Where would I find that? In our SharePoint?
Yep.
Okay. Is it I don't see it in our SharePoint for this meeting, today's meeting.
Mandy, you're muted, but yes, it's the motion sheet for this Monday's meeting has the referral motion and
Oh.
you can use that in your report.
Town council.
So the
Okay.
council packet.
Yeah,
The council.
I was looking, sorry. CTC packet. Great, thank you. Thank you, Athena. Were there any comments on the draft referral request? And I can, again, we'll use the wording in that memo. So I can put in our vote, moved, and I'll use the recommended language, and I'll also better construct the motion. I had to recommend the town council refer proposed Article 18 and associated amendments to Articles 12, 6, Tables 3 and 5 as amended at the April 23rd, 2006 CRC meeting. So I'll use
I'm doing minutes now, Pam, and I'll send you a draft as soon as the meeting's over.
Perfect.
With
I
the-
mean, oh, good. That's great. I jotted it down, but that's even better. Is there anything else that people want to add to that? And Stephanie did weigh in on the wording of it. If not, I'll just proceed. I just wanted you to take a look at it before it went off. Okay. Next item is Zoning Board of Appeals interview questions. Maybe I could share the screen. Can you all see that?
Coming up, there it is.
Are there any changes anyone would like to make? I'll ask you all first.
I haven't been on this obviously in the past, and this is going to be a group interview. Do you feel like these questions allow people to differentiate themselves well enough to make a distinction between them?
Mandy.
Sometimes the waivers one is tough because, this one's a little tougher than planning board, I would say, in our questions, because this one's a little more specialized and so I think we do get with a lot of these questions a lot more. I agree with what the person before said, no matter who goes before. It doesn't really matter the order. But I do feel like that each interview I've done over the past number of years, a different question has been the one that has sort of said, oh, we got a lot of different answers to X question. And it's not always the same one that we got the different answers to, and it's not always the same one we got the same answers to. So I think as a whole, they do, and I would be hard pressed to pinpoint one or two that have always, say, been ineffective, because I do think it changes based on who we're interviewing.
Yep. I would agree.
Yeah, I don't have any particular suggestions. I guess just curious how that's worked, but I would say
I was looking, sorry, didn't mean to talk over you.
no, I was just going to say let's go with it, but
I was going to look at number 3, which is what experience, knowledge, or expertise is the actual question, and then it says, please include any experience you have appearing before the planning board or ZBA or watching one of their meetings. That part about watching one of their meetings is like any idiot could go watch a ZBA meeting and go, yep, I'm good. I've watched their meetings. It's like leading the witness. I wouldn't mind just waiting to see if someone says, yeah, I'm so interested. I've started tuning in and listening to their meetings, and let them share that with us rather than us saying, and by the way, did you go to one of their meetings? So I would love to eliminate that last past the word ZBA.
can we then say just please include any experience you have with the planning board or ZBA?
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be fine.
with the, and cross out appearing before,
Mm-hmm.
and cross out or watching one of their meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Done. Okay. Yep. I like the other questions. I like the collaboration one, or the one about how did you resolve a contentious, where is it a collaboration with a group, especially where opinions differ. Okay, a motion for this?
I move to adopt the interview questions for the 2025 ZBA applicant, 2026 ZBA applicant
2026.
interviews as amended on April 23rd, 2026.
Second.
And I'll get the wording from Athena. Great. Let's go around the room. Andy,
Yes.
Mandy,
Aye.
Pam is a yes, 3 yes, 2 absent. Small committees are quick. Let me just close that. Okay, let's close that one. Change in the CRC. Did anyone have any changes in the CRC? In the CRC charge? Oops, I opened the wrong one.
So did you did you propose any amendments, or did you just post the current one and it just says as amended because that's how it was titled?
That's exactly how it was titled.
Okay.
It was the addition of the ability to get where is it? I thought it was the ability to ask for
legal
for
review.
legal,
Yeah,
and I'm not seeing it on here.
it's the last bullet point.
Thank you. It's the last bullet point. Any other change? I wasn't asking for this. I was asked by GOL chair to bring it up for discussion. So I can report back that there were no additions or corrections or changes recommended to this charge.
Yeah.
Okay. So done. Okay. There are no meeting minutes. Next agenda preview. So this is a little bit of a discussion. We have downtown design standards, clean energy bylaw, ZBA and planning board appointment process. Just for the record, and Andy, correct me if I get this wrong, but on May 28, we are planning to have planning board interviews at our regular CRC meeting, 1 o'clock on the 28th. On June 11, we are planning to hold ZBA interviews at our normal meeting time at 1 o'clock. That was for the record. Let me get rid of that. Let's see what else. Schedule. We talked a couple times about the fact that the intent is to have a joint public hearing on May 20, planning board evening, 6:30 p.m. On clean energy bylaw. I would love some feedback on after that meeting, we go our separate ways, or does it make sense to simply go to the next joint meeting with planning board and CRC in order to pursue the bylaw? Mandy.
So I think it makes more sense to go our separate ways. In the past, when I've tried to do joint hearings, the CRC and planning board tend to run them slightly differently. The planning board likes to do all of their discussion about whether they should recommend it or not in the middle of the hearing. We tend to do the hearing and then close it and then make the discussion. But beyond that, I think that's a minor issue that we could deal with, right? But if we are not going our separate ways after one joint meeting, the question becomes, if we're always doing it during planning board meetings, are we also then adding CRC meetings on every other week too, to do other business potentially, right? And then also, I'm not always available on Wednesdays, depending on when we're doing it, right? Like we're upending our schedule. So I understand sort of the first one being there, because I think a lot of people might come and make their comment at the first one, but then might not remake their comments every time at the continued hearings. So it might save the public time for the first one. But I would say after that, if the hearing's not done, which it probably won't be, we continue our hearing to a CRC meeting date.
And our next, well, interestingly, our next CRC meeting date after the May 20 would be the 28th, and we've obligated that for planning board interviews. The week after that, the meeting after that would be June 11. That's obligated for ZBA. The next date that was suggested by town staff was that June 17 be a joint meeting.
I mean, we might have to add meetings in anyway, depending on how many applicants we get for planning board and ZBA. They might not take the whole 2 hours. They might, it depends on how many applicants there are, right?
Yeah. It's usually the interviews don't seem to take more than an hour, but then we have our discussion and and sort of resolution at that point. So even if we continued the hearing, it would be to our own meeting date would be June 25, or to another joint meeting on the 17th. Does that make sense? I'm just looking at the calendar.
Yeah, it looks like the next two meetings, the 28th and the 11th after the hearing, are taken up with our interviews. So
yeah, we really won't be able to do anything about
so maybe we do go to the 17th for the joint meeting.
Except I thought that joint meeting was going to be potentially held not for clean energy, but for potential other zoning bylaw amendments that might be coming through the
It might
planning
be-
subcommittee or the planning staff.
Yeah, I mean, it could be both, right? If there's
Right.
popping up on clean energy, and then, or there might be two hearings or something. I don't know.
And in the
Yeah.
meantime, the planning board might be holding their own hearings anyway on clean energy. So it would be weird to come in on clean energy if they've held one or two in the middle of it.
I don't know what their plan was. I think staff was trying. I think staff was interested in not having to do it for two different committees if possible. But
The only other date that the planning board could utilize was June 3rd. That was also suggested as a possible joint meeting. Here's Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, so I have notes about that meeting with staff, and May 20th and June 3rd were identified as the two potential dates for joint public meeting for the clean energy bylaw. And I think the subsequent dates were for potential zoning amendments, although I think, I don't know what's going to happen with that process. I think Jeff wanted to keep those at least open, but I think with Nate leaving, I'm not sure what that process is going to be. So I would say the two dates that at least were sort of identified for joint hearings with the planning board were May 20th and June 3rd. And
Or
also,
clean. Okay.
yes, and June 3rd. And I would also note that I think their meetings typically start at 7 p.m. So I don't think they're
They're 6:30.
okay. I
Yeah,
thought someone had
planning
mentioned
board is
7.
always 6:30.
Okay.
Mandy has a hand up.
Yeah.
Oh, Mandy, sorry.
I'm likely not available on June 3rd. Just as an FYI.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So then maybe it does make sense to continue a hearing to the 17th just because of the CRC schedule. Mandy?
Yeah, there's the CRC schedule and all, but I will also point out, I think part of joint hearings is to hear from the public jointly, but we normally try and move our hearings then if we don't have a lot of comment on the content until after planning board has finished theirs. Once we've sort of heard from the public, because we want to know where they are before we finalize our hearing. And joint may take care of that, but at the same time, if we're struggling with Wednesday nights, we can just push our next hearing date to when they've had one or two more of their public hearings. I don't know if I described that well.
Yep. But again, the June 3rd is the only intermediate date that they would even be meeting.
So once they've met May 20th and June 3rd, then do we pick it up from there, or we anticipate that they'll meet more than that, or what?
I mean, that's the question is, are we going to, after the first joint one, wait for our discussion until they've voted a recommendation, or are we going to try and have discussions while they're considering their recommendation and all the changes they might want to make?
How much interaction do we have with them on sort of ironing out changes before they get recommended?
What was U Drive like, Pam? I think U Drive was sort of the closest we could say to what this might be. What was that like?
It was a ping pong game. And we would make some comments that would be relayed to the planning board. They often agreed with us because they were good comments. And then it would come, the discussion from planning board would then get relayed back to the CRC for our next meeting. And it was literally a back and forth.
So is that what the joint meetings is trying to avoid?
Yeah.
I'd be in favor of that.
in part because a huge complaint by somebody who's trying to follow a topic is like, okay, who's talking about it now? Is it the CRC? Is it the planning board? And it's 3:00, so I want to wrap this up. But it's messy. It's really messy. If we let the planning board go ahead and do their additional consideration on June 3, Mandy's not available. I would like Mandy to be available for clean energy conversation. We could easily at the May 20 meeting say, and the CRC is going to continue its hearing to June 17, and we'll use that date.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then they will
Maybe-
have had 2 shots at it, yeah.
They will have had one more shot at it.
And then we come together.
We could, yeah.
And I would say, given the comments we've received from the planning board, later is probably better for CRC. We are much more familiar with this than they are. And so I think what we've seen is some of the first stuff that staff can really handle. You know, more of trying to understand the bylaw than what changes might they want to it that are substantive. I think a lot of the so even the first joint hearing day is going to be a lot of questions that are not necessarily something they need us for unless we are the explainers. But I'm confident that Stephanie and staff could be the explainers, probably better than we can.
Yeah. So that sounds like a plan, is that it gives the planning board June 3 to continue its discussion. It could also give them the opportunity to discuss whatever other zoning thing is coming along. And without us being there.
And then are we continuing ours to the 17th and they rejoin us then? Is that, I don't know what the process is.
Yeah. That is their normal meeting night, so that would make sense, yes.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to guarantee that they would also continue to the 17th at some point, because otherwise we're trying to hold 2 separate meetings at the same time with the same staff, which doesn't work. And
Right.
once we
Exactly.
continue to that date, we have to hold the meeting that day.
Yeah. Yes. Which is a non-CRC time frame.
Right.
We then have a choice to move something to the 25th, which is our normal CRC date. The next joint meeting with the planning board was suggested for July 15. And again, that might have been, for these other zoning items. Athena.
This is clearly going to take some collaboration between this body and the planning board and staff and so on. So the meeting that we had with Jeff and Dave and you, Pam, and Andy and Doug Marshall, I think we're going to try and keep that line of communication, and Stephanie, of course, we'll try and keep that line of communication open so that before May 20, everyone is on the same page and we have everyone's expectations are aligned so that we know who's doing what when. And especially with reduced staff, with Nate leaving, we're going to need to make sure that we're not asking the few staff that we have to do double duty on Wednesday and Thursday nights.
Right. Exactly. We lost Mandy. Where did she go?
She's here.
Oh.
You're
I
muted,
just turned
Mandy.
my video off. I'm here.
Okay. All right. So thank you. That was the next agenda preview.
And
So
Mandy.
announce.
So I just
Pardon?
want one question. With Hampshire College closing down, and I assume some discussions about what happens with the future of that, is that something that we may need to clear the decks for? Or is that more of the full council, or is that planning? I don't know who does that, but it seems to me that could take up a bunch of everybody's time.
Yeah. Yes. If we had additional information. Mandy.
So I would say we can't answer that until after Monday's meeting when we get an update from the manager in open session and all about everything. And then we
Yeah.
might be able to answer that or think about that a little more as to what that might mean for our committee.
Yep.
I'd love to talk about it, but yeah. Good. I think that's it, folks. Nothing anticipated 48 hours in advance. I'd love to adjourn this meeting. I'll make a motion to do so. Is there a second?
Second,
Andy,
Yes.
Mandy,
I
and Pam is an aye. It is 3:06. We are adjourning our meeting. Thank you, everybody. That was a good work session.
Pam, did you want to talk further, or do you want
Oh,
to?
yeah, let's see if Athena,
I can
are
make,
you still?
actually, I'm the host, so I can make you the host.
Oh, okay, Stephanie, can you just
And we're
let
not
it, will you
recording anymore?